Hi, welcome to Bigwing. We're a small engineering business based in the northeast of England. This is probably what we're best known for. This is our brass model Spitfire, which is an airframe kit which comes in a flat pack format. It's very sculptural in its design and very reminiscent of the 1940s. Very, very elegant. This is a stainless steel and brass version. It's essentially the same construction method, except you don't need to lacquer the stainless steel, but it's still every bit of as elegant as the all brass version, but it's just a case of, because it's a bit of furniture, a bit of sculpture to go in your house, everyone's taste is different. It's just got a different look. And this has just been a standard built model, and that normally takes about anywhere between about 25-30 hours to complete the construction. What I have found a lot of the builders have done, particularly the model engineers, have done modifications, maybe extra holes drilled in the spars to make them more like the original, extra fretwork around the tail, different bases if they've got bits and pieces of from Spitfires or Merlin engines, they incorporate them into the bases. Probably the main modification that people do is just an engraving on this base plate. And what a lot of people do is get it engraved with their own name, or people that have used to fly Spitfires, or if this actually makes a fantastic retirement gift, and people get them engraved with the name of the person who's retiring, even for them to build themselves or to pre-build. What I would do is make sure that you watch the DVD completely before you start your build. But you'll see from the actual build, the canopy comes pre-formed, the propellers are pre-formed, and the spinners fully machined. The ball joint is already fully machined. And what you do, you twist the nut, and then you can put it to whatever nice angle that you want to put it to. The stand contains a base plate, which they're all individually numbered for collectability. When you look at the model, it looks a very complicated build, but it's actually, as you'll see from the DVD, there's a lot of small steps built up to produce the finished article. Small manageable steps, which is important. What we try to do with the full kit is make it so there's enough input there for the builder to get satisfaction from, but it's still got to be achievable. There's no point having a fantastic model if it stays in the box. It's got to be achievable for everyone. And the good thing about this model is you can actually put it together fairly quickly without glue initially, and you've got to do that as part of the build process, just so you can identify where all the parts go. This version is exactly the same as the other two, but it's an all brass version. If anyone who's wanting to do the build as quickly as possible, what I've done here, I've painted all the internal flat faces, just a hammerite special metal primer and a top coat, which means you don't have to do as much polishing. But to be honest, the idea behind it wasn't to save work. It was to emphasise, the actual outer skin and make the inner components disappear. I mean, I've just used a British racing green on this version, but you know, it's up to the individual. I had one builder who's using this lime green of the anodised aluminium of the original airframe. You know, a lot of people put their own mark on their models. We're constantly trying to update and improve our range of models, and this is a prototype we're working on for the Hurricane. Essentially the build's exactly the same as the Spitfire, but you can see there's a lot more components in it. It is a little bit harder to build, but it looks every bit as elegant, and it's got a very different sort of shape to the Spitfire, but every bit as interesting. And you find actually there's a lot of people been asking for the Hurricane. It has a lot of favourites. The Spitfire tends to get a lot of the credit, but the Hurricane has done its job just the same. For those of you who don't think they'll have the time to do the build, or don't think they'll be able to complete the process. We do a build to order service. The only thing with a build to order service, you have to give us plenty of notice, maybe about 2 months notice if you require it for a birthday, or even more than that for Christmas, and it is still dependent on our work commitments, how much work we've got on at the time, because at the end of the day it still takes us 25 hours to put the parts together. These aren't the mass produced high volume kits from China. These are a quality item.